Okay, are we ready? Oh yeah, yes, no?
Almost.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so let's start with the figure. So what is A? It's kind of just pointing to nothing. So I kind of meant it as like the entire thing, or like. So for A, it's enamel organ. What about B? Does anybody know B?
And these ones labeled the structures.
Yeah. B?
I was looking at B first. B is the succession.
Yes. And then that gives rise to succedaneous teeth.
Oh,
No, just anyone can answer. Okay, what's C?
yes.
So if you look close, I kind of drew like a inner lining, like deep to the inner enamel epithelium. So that's actually the stratum intermedium. On the test, it'll probably be a thicker line to really emphasize that lining is there. So D, she already said it's stellate reticulum, those cells that cushion the IEE. And then what is E? So E is the vestibule. And so that is that like develops into the space between your gums and your teeth, like that. I don't know. Yeah, between your cheeks and lips and your teeth. Okay. Now on to question 1. Figure is depicting which event of tooth development? Yes. So you can see that the successional lamina is there as well as the vestibule. Let's scroll up. So that's how you know. Okay, 3. Which of the following does not occur in the 6th embryonic week of dental lamina development? So this is on your like 3rd page of the outline. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yes, C. So what would that be instead? It's the 8th embryonic week. So the lamina thickens in 10 areas, and then which determine the locations of future deciduous teeth. Yeah, that's the 8th embryonic. So you'll find that on page 156. Okay, number 4. The enamel organ development is divided into the bud stage, cap stage, and bell stage. Each of these stages is characterized by an event. Describe the event that characterizes each stage. So you can find this like basically word for word in the lecture manual on page 157. But can anyone answer those for me, starting with the bud stage? Yes, of the dental. And then cap stage. Yeah. So. And then the bell stage is characterized by yes, concavity of cap deepening in the presence of the 4th layer, which is yes. Nice. Okay, next.
What causes preameloblasts to become ameloblasts? Yes. And the polarity change happens because of what? Do you remember? Mhm. So those odontoblasts, when they start secreting like the collagen matrix, that kind of cuts off the nutrient supply to the preameloblasts. And so then there's a polarity change because of that. And because of the polarity change, they turn into ameloblasts. And that's like their mature state. Okay, 6. Reduced enamel epithelium is composed of which cells? Oops. Yes, outer enamel epithelium and one more. There's 2 cells that come together to form this. And it's at the very end of enamel development of like the tooth. So it's ameloblasts. Because here I'll scroll up. So the ameloblasts will be like putting down enamel like upwards. And so then once they reach this outer enamel epithelium, those 2 cells will come together and create the reduced enamel epithelium. And then odontoblasts will travel downwards, so it's like opposite directions. And so when then odontoblasts start secreting the dentin matrix, that's what causes no nutrients to be at those ameloblasts anymore. That makes sense. What are we on, 7? Okay, from which germ layer does the enamel organ develop? Yes, I like to remember this because enamel's on the outside, same with ectoderm. It's, what is it? Ectoderm. And then 8, which germ layer does the dentin and pulp organ develop? So what's one layer in from ectoderm, since dentin is one layer in from enamel? Yes, good job. Okay, 9. Dental papilla cells arise from what cells? Which cells? Yes, I think it's mesenchymal. So in your drawing, like on the first page, that little like circle area on the bud, that's what mesenchymal cells are, and then they differentiate into dental papilla cells. Like in the that's mesenchymal. Mesenchymal dental papilla. Okay, we're on 10. Odontoblasts arise from which cells? So it's actually dental papilla cells. So mesenchymal cells turn into dental papilla cells, which turn into odontoblasts. So let's see, I think there's like a flow chart. Oh yeah, right here, page 166, I think. So when mesenchymal cells become more rounded and condensed, they change into dental papilla, and then dental papilla cells become more columnar or cuboidal, which then turns into odontoblast. Okay, 11, describe the location of the odontoblast cell bodies after the primary dentin is formed. So if it's traveling downward, where do you think it would be once they finish putting down all the dentin? Yes, but in what chamber? So they line the pulp chamber to produce secondary and reparative dentin. So there's a good picture of this in the lecture manual. Oh yeah, I think it's page 171. If we have the same numbers. But you can just see that those little cell bodies are lining the like, outsides of that pulp chamber because they travel downwards to get there. And then they leave their tail behind. If that makes sense. And their tail just gets longer as they travel down. What is the epithelial root sheath? Mhm. So those are important in forming the roots, especially the root length. So yeah, the root length is dependent on how much those cells proliferate and divide and travel downwards. Okay, what causes dental sac cells to change into cementoblasts? Yes. Due to the epithelial root sheath deteriorating. Since there's no enamel, like where the root is, that's why they deteriorate, and then cementum fills in those holes, if that makes sense. And they deteriorate once radicular dentin starts to form. The epithelial root sheath cells. So those would turn into enamel if they didn't deteriorate, but since enamel is not like underneath the gum, it kind of looks like Swiss cheese instead, and then the cementoblasts come in and fill in those holes, and that's why you have cementum instead of enamel on the outside layer of the root. Okay, which layer of cementoblast forms cementum and which layer forms periodontal ligament? So this one, you don't even have to know this to really answer it. It's kind of just like, you have to know where cementoblast is compared to, or where the cementum is compared to the periodontal ligament. So we know that cementum is deep to the periodontal ligament. So what layer, what do you think that'd be? So the first layer is the cementum, like the most deep layer, and then outside of that, the second layer is periodontal ligament. Because if you look at like a tooth cross section, you'll see that the cementum is closer to that root than the periodontal ligament. Okay. Enamel is what percent inorganic and what percent water and organic materials? So enamel, not dentin. Nice. And then you got the dentin one, which was 70% inorganic, 30% organic. And then what's 17 is, what is the chemical formula of hydroxyapatite? 6. Yes. So this, I feel like I memorized this easiest by knowing that it's made of calcium, phosphate, and hydroxide. And then you can put those together, and then all you have to memorize after that is like the numbers. So 10 calcium per 6 phosphates per 2 hydroxides. Okay, what causes secondary dentin to form, and what is the overall result in regard to the pulp chamber? So remember that those odontoblast cell bodies lie surrounding the pulp chamber, like on the outsides. So they make like a little bit more dentin when the first tooth occludes with its opposing tooth. So what do you think that would do to the pulp chamber if they grow a little bit more? Yeah, because let's see, I have a good picture on this somewhere. Well, there's 171. If you like imagine their little tails getting longer, then they like push more into that pulp chamber, making it smaller. Okay, reparative denon is formed in response to what? Yep, so there, what types of trauma do we have? Yes, nice. What determines the number of roots a tooth will form? And then like how can 2 roots form or 3 roots form? Yeah, so yes. So this kind of confused me at first when I started learning it, but I don't know, just imagine like the vertical sides or the horizontal sides are growing faster than the vertical sides. And like, if you could imagine that, that kind of would make like a bow type shape. Because it kind of like folds out if it's growing faster, and that would make 2 roots versus if there were 3 areas of uneven growth, like faster growth than like the other areas. I don't know if you can imagine that, but like it slowly just like curves out and out into 3 different rounds, I guess, until it separates into 3 different roots. Does that make sense at all? Okay. And then the root length is determined by what again? You guys remember? Yes, nice. Okay, last one. Which portion of the root is composed of cellular cementum, and then which portion is acellular cementum? Let's see, I think it's on page 174 and 173 if we have the same pages. So cellular means the cells are trapped, acellular, no cells are trapped. I'm pretty sure that means there's just no cells, they're like dead. And then, so cellular cementum is the apical third. Apical just means like tip of the root. So the end third of the root. And then acellular is the cervical 2/3. Cervical just means like towards the gum line. So like the upper 2/3 of the root. Okay. So we finished those questions. This is a really hard section and it has a lot of information, and I guarantee there'd be a lot on the test because he likes this lecture. So I would really spend a lot of time like memorizing this, like make sure you have it down. Like I think you're good once you can like recite out loud all the steps from like the beginning. Like all these steps, like explain what happens and explain what happens to the ameloblast and why they change cell types. And these flow charts, like if you can recite these word for word, you're pretty good. And then, I don't know, like these questions, I would know the names by heart. I wouldn't just like be able to like pick them out of options because his questions are really hard. So like definitely have them like write them down and not just have or like pick them out of options, you know what I mean? And oh yeah, we also, so Josie made this flow chart. So this kind of helped her like organize all her thoughts a lot. I can zoom out if you want a picture of all of it. If you want us to, we can post it. It hasn't been posted anywhere yet though. And I like highly recommend just making your own so you can organize your own thoughts, and then you'll learn it a lot more if you create your own too. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.